Morning, everyone. This must be episode 238 of OotiniCast. Our guests today are returning guests, Bill and Andrew. Andrew just Sweater Economics. Chill will start us off properly in a minute. So, last week I was lamenting the fact... Whoops. I'm hearing myself, and that's really disturbing.
Do you have Twitch going or something?
Yeah, I do. Now I'm listening to a Twitch ad. Hang on. I'm getting back to it. There it is. Gotta love the way that Chrome puts a little speaker icon on the tab where the audio is coming from. Makes it easy to find. You've got a billion tabs open. So last week I was lamenting the fact that we probably wouldn't have much to talk about this week, because last week the only news was whatever their last news last week was. What the hell was it? It was something big deal. Was it the live stream?
It was the live stream. Yeah.
Andrew, where did you hear that it was a letter? I saw that latest blog of yours.
It was. It's in the post that Musco put on the forums. That's the title of it, which I thought was odd.
I thought they called it December Producer live stream, but
yeah, that's what they called it everywhere except for when he put the forum post up.
All right,
saying this is the
brain fart.
The letter. Like, yeah. What letter? I think I missed a letter. It surprised me when I reread it this morning. I was like, wait, letter? I don't remember a letter.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right. Do we want to cover anything else before we start, or shall we just wing it? All right. So, in terms of tone, I'm sure we'll all be extremely positive and honest as ever.
Good.
Yep.
My Audacity's rolling. Test. Still looks good.
Bill, what you talked about the raid group, I may allude to that in our discussion in terms of our future, but maybe I'll leave that until we talk tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it might be better. Either way. Snave is here. Hello, Snave, and others. It's going to be a special episode of Take a Seat. That's going to happen my Monday morning early, which I'm not participating in, but there'll be various others. It should be a fine old time. All right, getting ready to record. Bill, are you recording?
I am.
Mr. Sweater Economics, Andrew, are you recording?
I just hit record.
All right, Chill, you already going? Is Chill still there? Oh no, he wandered off.
His screen went black a second ago.
Sometimes he has to re-enter his password, so he could have got kicked out of the Hangout. There he is. Do you have to re-enter your password, Chill? Mm-hmm. I was about to entertain
I redid it as save. Yeah, save as studio, so I'm all good.
All
yeah,
right.
it was hilarious. It was very ironic timing. You literally asked if I was ready to go, and right when I was saying, yep, it goes pop.
How wildly appropriate. I was about to entertain the fine people with song, so it's probably not a bad thing that you came back. All right, are we ready?
I think so.
Hey, it's JD, Neptune, etc. Baby. Good morning, Arwen.
Yes. How's she doing?
She's loud. So loud. No, she honestly has a penetrating cry, but
That's a great adjective.
Yep.
it's quite accurate, believe me. Penetrates right through your skull. All right.
She'll be great on mic then. Someday.
Well, yeah. No, she's already been on mic plenty of times. And I'll just leave it in as... Well, anyway. Anyway, sorry. Let us roll.
Going in 5.
Yep. Thanks.
Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast. Manifesto. The Maker created me for the sole purpose of deleting high-ranking organic troublemakers from the galaxy. This is episode 238, being recorded on Wednesday, December 9th, 2015. I'm yours, Chill, with our producer and co-host, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey guys.
And hi, Arwen. Our guests are Andrew from Sotor Economics and Bill, the Moneymaker. So, Andrew, what you been up to?
I have gotten back into writing on the blog a little bit. Got a little motivated here and been writing articles. I've actually got put one out on Monday and one this morning, and then I've got 4 currently mostly finished and queued up. So I have a good little run of content here. Yeah, I got a little fired up, so gotta get the feelings out a little bit, take my feelings out on the keyboard. So I every time I think I've kind of run out of things to write something about, I come up with a new idea. So I think I'll probably stay on a good little run here of every other day or so, trying to put something out. Some of them are more positive than the last 2 have been. So
Good.
they're not all negative. I think it's more just a matter of they all got the heart rate up a little bit. So got me a little more passionate than I had been about anything in terms of the in-game economy recently, and that was kind of what I needed to get me off my butt and actually put some content out. So that was good, and been doing the GM thing like I keep saying every time I'm on. It's continues to be more work than expected, but it's a lot of fun. Still going strong. We'll almost crossed 100 qualifying accounts, somewhere in the 90s, I think. So
Nice.
that'll be kind of fun. I think I'll throw some sort of like appreciation thing for the founding officers when we hit 100, just for the fun of it.
Very cool.
And then just keeping up with running hard mode raids. Did hard mode Dread Palace and hard mode Karaga's Palace on Monday. So, well, palace adventure. It was fun.
Very nice. Excellent. All right. And Bill, what have you been up to?
Oh, not much in game. Busy time of year for me with work and holidays and everything, so I don't get much time to play anything this time of year. Always, I have Battlefront and I played it like 5 hours and haven't even logged into it in 2 weeks.
Oh.
I haven't been playing much of anything. The only thing in game I pretty much do is raid. I do play the GTN daily up until this week. It's been a little struggle this past couple days. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that. The one thing I did get accomplished since the last time I was on the show was I had talked to Andrew a while back of one of these wild ideas I had and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I did a complete breakdown of the gold armor pack. So I went in and researched every single thing that could drop from it. And then I did some basic analysis to determine, I started with the hypothesis that every armor set that could drop from it has an equal chance of dropping, that's one of the hard things of predicting and modeling how much things are worth from a pack, because you just don't know the drop rates. So I actually went out and did find a lot of evidence to support that when it came to the gold armor pack, every armor set that it offers would drop at pretty much the same rate. Okay. So I went through and I did some analysis on what all those things were. I think I came up with, I can't remember the number. I want to say it was high 40s, low 50s of any given. It was actually high 50s, 56, I think, somewhere in that range of what could drop, and then what those were ultimately worth on the GTN, and basically created a model to predict the value in credits of one of those gold armor packs. Right. That's a long way to get to. They're worth, in my estimation, somewhere between 2.25 and 2.5 million credits.
Oh, okay. And is the variance quite wide?
It can be, yes. The low end of what you get, your best pricing is maybe 400 to 500,000 credits for the entire set. Okay. But it's offset on the high end by the Revan sets, the Ghostly Malgus set. Some of them are up to 15 million. Wow. So it's quite a huge variance. You actually have about an 85% chance of getting something that's worth less than 1.5 million. So even if I say on average they're worth 2.25, and you use
Right.
that as your guide, 80% of the time you're going to lose money on them. So I think that was one of the things I started looking at it and really breaking it down, and that was what we were discussing at the end of the last show of what do you think of these things. I would tell you, based on the huge variance, I wouldn't take them as a speculative play unless I was actually looking for something to keep out of it. It's not a good investment, but it may be good if you really like a lot of those armor sets, and a lot of them are sought after, and you're willing to keep what you have maybe to throw on an alt, or you have a lot of your paper doll slots to put it on, or whatever we're calling those, the proper name.
Outfit. Yeah.
Outfit designers.
Outfit.
Tab.
Right.
Slots, whatever.
So if you're willing to keep it, it's probably not a bad deal for credits. And we've talked around and around about what the cartel coin to credit conversion rate is, and it's somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000. Gold armor packs sell for 1,200 sold. I guess we should say they have been just in time for all this analysis. They've been temporarily removed from the market, so you can't buy them right now.
Right.
But they were at 1,200, so that would put it at that higher end of almost 2,000 credits per. So it's in the right
So it's a
range
little-
pricing-wise. But
Okay. It's a little pricey, but not outrageous.
yep,
Okay.
yeah, it's a gamble.
Interesting.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds like.
And the
So basically you would either only do it if you're really looking to spread out the numbers and buy a bunch of them and assume you get the hits. That might work, but other than that, you'd just do it if you had like several different armor pieces that you'd be happy with or armor sets that you'd be happy with to get out of it.
exactly, yeah. I generally say when it comes to packs, I think we've established that I open hyper crates. I think that is really the way to do it.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I buy hyper crates on the GTN, and I buy them regularly, many times a week, and I've never lost money on one, not a single time.
Right.
But if I were to buy one pack, odds are you're going to lose money on it. It's certainly possible. It's just have to be able to open enough to get your odds in your favor.
Excellent. All right. Anything else that you wanted to talk about? Like what you've
The
been
only
doing
other
in-game?
thing, not in game, but out of game, I forgot last episode was the 4-year anniversary, and I wanted to go back in time and discuss something we'd talked about so long ago, and that was somebody needs to make an Ootini, a drink. And
I love it.
I was a bartender years and years and years ago, and I had a big Halloween party this year, and it was Star Wars themed, and this is one of the drinks I actually came up with. So
Oh, okay.
if you know anything about drinks, you'll probably sort of recognize this. This is a twist on a beachcomber.
Okay.
It's a little twisted, and I thought, there's all kinds of layers here. If you follow
Yeah.
my thinking, you'll get it. So you start with 2 ounces of a Reposado tequila. A Reposado is better. It's aged longer than a silver, so it's more mellow. And this drink isn't a martini, so it is basically all alcohol almost. So going with the Reposado makes it a smoother drink.
Okay.
We then take a 1/2 ounce of orange curacao and a 1/2 ounce of blood orange liqueur. So you have 2 oranges, sort of like 2 suns in the sky.
Ah, okay. Got you.
We round it out with a 1/2 ounce of Luxardo, which is a
Which is-
maraschino liqueur.
Oh, okay.
It's actually made from the pits of cherries, is what it's distilled from.
Wow.
It's not overly common, but it helps add that dryness to it. If you don't have that around, not a big deal. I would use amaretto instead. Amaretto does have a very similar taste. It's not quite as complex as a maraschino liqueur, but it's pretty comparable.
Okay.
And then just mix it all in a mixer with a couple ounces of fresh lime juice. So I literally squeeze 1 lime into the shaker, shake it, not stirred, and pour it out in your martini glass. So then you garnish it with a lemon wheel and an orange wheel. Again, so we bring back the two suns.
Yeah.
If you do want to cut it down and be a lightweight, just squeeze half an orange into it. Once you have it in there, it'll actually make it look really, it'll bloom and it'll look nice. It'll also cut down the alcohol a little bit.
Right.
If you wanted to make it an Ootini Rage, I'd squeeze half a blood orange in it.
Nice.
I give you that. That's the Ootini.
It sounds absolutely delicious, and yeah, very citrusy too. I want to try this, even though I only have like I think exactly 0 of those in my house right now.
He sold it like a pro, though. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to argue with them, even if they wanted to say it wasn't the Ootini, because that was you could see the old bartender coming out at him. He was really selling every ingredient.
Yeah.
A lot of thought went into it.
I definitely want to try that. Excellent. Well, thank you, Bill. I'm actually emailing that to myself right now, so that I will save it and remember it. Excellent. All right, Tio, what you been up to?
Well, pretty much the only thing I did this week was raid for, again, personal reasons, other things happening. Happening very loudly, as it turns out. So what we did in-game was we raided, of course. We did the usual story mode Tavares Courtyard as a warm-up. We did story mode Karaga's Palace, which was the group finder of the day for story mode operations. Just blew through that, no problems at all, no bugs. It just worked, so that's great. Then we attempted, because we had time, attempted story mode Monolith on Zoist. And yes, I mean Zoist. And yeah, that didn't go so well. In fact, it was kind of terrible. Yeah. So I suspect, as has been raised by Bill, that we're all suffering from the fact that we're not playing enough. And so we're all, whenever we come to raid, we're getting a bit rusty. And so it's basically a good fun, but our ability to progress is probably limited at this point unless we get serious.
Okay.
And well, with the holidays coming up, I'm thinking we'll talk to the guys tomorrow. We may discuss having a hiatus for a few weeks over the holidays and then come back fresh and renewed and ready to tackle the same old operations again. So
cool.
Unless they have announced something new, which who knows? Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on the news. That's what we do.
I did want to mention something else that I saw on Reddit. Another potential solution to anyone experiencing frames per second problems, particularly in Windows 10, or this could apply to Windows 7 as well, is your power options or energy settings, where on the control panel, if you go into choose or customize a power plan, you get to choose between balanced, which balances between performance and energy consumption, and power saver, which will obviously save power.
Right.
And high performance, which says, screw the power, just suck it all down and give me as much CPU grunt as you can possibly do.
Right.
And I had mine on balance, is what I've been running with for ages. But a lot of people were saying that if you switch to high performance, any CPU issues you may be having will go away. So I did that. And since I've got solar panels, I don't care about power, at least during the day. So that's fine. And whatever. So I want performance as opposed to saving a few cents on electricity. So, yeah. Anyway, that's something you should look at. I'll put a few more details into the show notes about where to find it. Yeah, so just...
Now, now you had already kind of fixed your main frame per section issues with the security, killing the security inbuilt into Windows 10.
Correct. The Windows Defender anti-malware executable can go out of control. Yep.
Yeah. Did you notice any further improvement when you tried this? Or did you actually not change this?
I have changed this, and I really haven't played enough to see. So I'll let you know.
Very good.
Anyway, and I'm also continuing to read the Han Solo Adventures. I finished the first book, onto the second. It is truly excellent, really good. So I, again, highly recommend that to anyone. Anyway, that's my week, such as it is. And looking forward to The Force Awakens, only a week away. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yep.
I've got my tickets.
Me too. All ready to go. Gold class, for those of you in Australia who know what that is. Basically, you sit on a lounge, comfy lounge chairs in a smallish cinema with a. Yeah, it's
Very nice.
Really nice. The best way to see any movie. Anyway, that's my week. Over to you, Chell.
Very good. Yeah, that's similar to the movie house that we have a small chain of called Cinetopia out here in the Portland and Vancouver area, and they are excellent. Just very comfortable, super high end. Digital projection, digital sound. It's beautiful stuff, and we love Cinetopia, and we cannot go back to a regular movie house. it is too painful. So I'm really looking forward to that. In fact, we've got tickets pre-bought, and not only do they let you pre-buy it, but they will let you actually choose the seat, so we know exactly where we're sitting.
Yeah, same with this. In fact, you can order drinks to be brought out partway through, and it's
that's
really
nice.
nice. Yeah,
you can do that at Cinetopia in certain rooms. They don't have it in for every room, but there are certain 21 and over rooms where they do serve alcohol. So that's Cinetopia out here in the Portland, Vancouver area. All right, now let's give a shout out to the chat room. Pull up the most up-to-date list. Holy cow. Lots of folks here today. All right. Aardvark Tongue is here. Elaroon FFXIV, Bill 646, Blacklock Slotar, Bleeze Lord, Beware 2, Delegant, Darth Brundlefly, Dekion, Dual Meow, Dreadx, Easy Esquire, Fianha, Jihanna, Gaddock Teague, and he was shouting me out earlier saying, yeah, I saw how much he could drink at the cantina, but I think it was kind of a joke, but I'm kind of a lightweight, but in certain circumstances, I like to drink. Gas Guy 192, great friend of the show, of course, from the Vegas area, and we met him at the meetup. Inixis, Erdy SC21, JP Chivalry, Lorhin, Ludwig Van Cover, Lupulin, Lust and Lash, Morlin, Miker, Nepthenord, which I think is just Nepthen, Ozakas, Protel, and Arjar75, Sandman, BK15. Wow. Scott Thomas, Silent Sorrow, Siskaya, Sith Kitty Snave is here, Son of Hades, Sukaiberu, Sotuportu, Swodor Potato, Andrew Sierra, Sotor Economics, Zordy H, I'm going to guess the pronunciation, and Yo-Yo Bear 2. Holy cow, wow.
This is getting impractical.
Yes, it is. It's getting a little nuts. All right. So as far as my week goes, pretty quiet. Obviously did the operations. And I was kind of feeling really bad on Sunday. Also working around the house because we have company coming. So I didn't actually play very much. And I won't be able to play too much this week either. The reason that we were working so much around the house is that we have company coming after, 7-ish years of lessons. I'm finally getting my black belt. So,
congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, a bunch of relatives are coming over, and I'm going to be wearing my Utini Rage t-shirt under my gi. So I'm looking forward to that.
Congrats, that's awesome.
Thanks. And yeah, so didn't play much. I did try to make a character who would look like Lana from Archer, but she didn't quite turn out right. Might try it again, or maybe I just don't. Maybe there's just not quite the right hair. I don't know, but or might try just a different character. But I mucked around with that a little bit. And again, the early part of this weekend until the mid-weekend will be family and stuff. So not going to be playing too much this week until about Sunday, and then I hope to crank things back up. So that's not a lot to talk about. So we'll just get on to the tip of the week. Got 5 tips this week, and I'll go ahead and start us off with Ewan. Ewan writes, sick of story, and want a 60 without giving Bioware money from it? Try heroic. First few levels are hard. I would suggest doing the starting planet normal or not starting the heroics until level 10. After that, it's clear sailing. I actually managed to get from 1 to 27 with XP boost in a little under 3 hours. Wow. From title XPs, a little exploring, and the heroics. Neat things about heroics is that they are unlocked in the terminal based on your level, which means you can keep advancing planets without needing a ship. Very clever.
Very clever indeed.
And you do get exploration XP when you start going to planets you haven't been to yet, and you zone in with the auto teleport, and you discover your immediate surroundings, and you get a big chunk of XP.
There you go. All right, our second tip is from Elian D of the Epic Guild on the Shadowlands. Not so sure this is totally a tip, he says, but perhaps more of a community resource. I found this great heroics guide on Reddit that lists the time to complete each heroic on both the Imperial and Republic sides. I've been using it to quickly and easily select that fastest heroics for farming supply crates, for leveling resources and recruits, which is all the Alliance stuff.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but the community seems to have been updating it. In any case, it's been working well for me, so I thought I'd share. You can find its sources via, and I'll link the Reddit thread in our show notes, and there's a Google Doc spreadsheet. So, thank you. I may actually start making use of this once I have time to play again.
Yeah, that's very nice. And you don't get the crates until what, level 60? I believe. The actual ones that you can turn into Dr. O and so on.
Right. Or 61. Yeah. I believe
60 or
we finally
61.
confirmed. Yeah. Turg had this problem. He thought, I turned level 60 and I can't get the crates. But yeah, I believe he started getting them at 61.
61. Okay. Excellent. All right. Third tip is from Anonymous. I'm sure you know who it is, Tio.
I know exactly who it is, and yes, keep going.
Okay, in case he or she is the winner. Hey guys, longtime listener, always enjoy your positive outlook on everything SWTOR. My contribution comes after SWTOR economics. Hey! Shout out to Andrew. Advice on leveling companion influence via rank 1 companion gifts from the social vendor. First off, you'll need a macro program. I use a Razer Naga/Chroma and use Razer Synapse program. Create a left mouse button, click macro like this. And I guess there's supposed to be a picture? Or there's going to be like...
It actually wasn't in the email, but keep going.
Okay.
We'll work out something.
Exactly. Then go to the fleet in the GTN area and purchase 40 to 50 stacks of 99 rank 1 companion gifts. Holy cow. Make sure you've already opened up Legacy of Altruism 1 through 3 in your character perks. Absolutely. Now open up your inventory and drag one of those stacks you just purchased onto your hotbar. Position your mouse over the hotbar icon that you just created this to start the macro, and then go to bed. It takes hours to go through, but you should get to around level 40 without carpal tunnel syndrome. Enjoy, and thanks for all the work.
Now, there is the obvious point that this is indeed against the terms of service. Remember, the rule of thumb, is that one action in-game has to equal one actual action by the player in terms of an input. So you can't just set something up which will keep pushing a button over and over again without you actually doing it yourself. So this is absolutely 100% a violation of terms of service, hence why I haven't actually put in the guy's name. Or girl. So, yeah. But I think it does kind of... the reason that I left it in was it kind of illustrates the insanity of the current system for building influence with your companions after trying to build 250,000 influence, from 10k upwards, just trying to use the lower rank gifts. I mean, maybe there's a better way of doing it, and there is, but it would take forever. Yeah, so...
Right. Yeah,
you could do this manually, like you did, Shell.
Yeah, my method is to have a different screen to watch streams and stuff and just right-click. It's crazy, though. It takes forever.
Now, whether they...
Oh, I was just going to say, to follow up on what Tio said, I think it is important. I feel like it's an important conversation to have because of how central they've made the mechanic of influence to the overall game, that it speaks to some sort of imbalance that is the utilitarian, albeit anti-terms of service, path of least resistance. That I think that speaks to something important in terms of the way that it's currently set up, that I hope they address at some point, because whether somebody chooses to do a macro and violate the terms of service and do it, or they choose to level up influence any of the other ways that you can, none of them are especially fun. It's not. I feel like the way it's currently set up, it forces you to choose between having an enjoyable process and having a efficient process of any reasonable degree, and that's just not a fun game design decision, I feel like, for me as a player.
Yeah, we're not really giving anything away here either, because anyone who's able to create macros would have thought of this. So it's
I
more.
mean, it's basically in the
Right.
initial setup manuals of pretty much any gaming mouse or keyboard on the market too. It's so pervasive in the industry that I understand BioWare's position on it, but I think that they also need to, realistically, when all of the major accessory hardware providers are literally handing people the technology required to do something like this, I feel like it can be against the terms of service, but you also have to look at it realistically and know that it's not against most MMOs terms of service, or at least most that I've played. So I feel like it just has to be something that they have to take into account at some point.
And it's unlikely they would enforce any kind of penalty in this particular case, just because of the nature of it. You're not really damaging anything or anyone. This isn't PvP, so...
Right. Typically, these sorts of multi-action macros are designed to get you some sort of benefit in PvP or possibly in high-end operations.
But if you are caught by some sort of auto-detection by the game, so be it. That is the consequence of
It
doing
could
it.
happen. Yeah. All right. Tio, do you want to do the next one?
Our fourth tip is from FluffyVert. And FluffyVert says, I know it was mentioned for Windows and Macs that you can get around putting in your authenticator each time you play by simply not logging in or putting your computer in suspend mode. For Linux, it is even easier than that and does not require anything special to your computer while running the game in Wine and using the SWTOR_fixes mentioned in the Wine HQ page. And there's a link. You can simply leave your SWTOR game running and it will only log you out to the server select screen. I've left it at this screen for over 2 days and never been logged out. This is probably something to do with the need for the SWTOR fix program, which is required to get SWTOR working on Linux.
Huh.
Ah, there you go. Though
Interesting.
why anyone would be running on Linux, I don't know, but fair enough.
Yeah.
Not that I
Linux
have
is
anything
still
against
there.
Linux, but as a desktop, meh.
All right, and fifth tip is from Gas Guy. Hello, OotiniCast listeners. A few tips for playing. 1. If you haven't been in the Flashpoint Battle of Ilum for a while, please be aware that the typical path around the landing zone on the outside path of the guardrails is no longer functional.
Oh, thank you.
Some type of force barrier appears to be in place. Now you have to move down through the alley with the mobs.
Of course,
Yes.
that little shortcut was more trouble than it's worth, because if you're in a pug and you say, all right, come with us, someone will inevitably step into the open area where they will get minefielded and
Yep.
blown up. So
Yeah.
no matter how many times you told them, don't step into the open area, they did. So, oh well.
Second, from Gas Guy, if you purchase the Razer Naga Hex mouse with the 6 buttons on the side, please be aware the buttons are defaulted as keyboard buttons 1 through 6. You cannot overwrite them with the key bindings in SWTOR. You have to use the Razer downloaded/cloud software to make changes. I mapped them to the function keys F7 through F12 and made some changes in my typical UI to make best use of the new setup.
Fair enough.
Okay. And finally, if you're like me, no matter how often you have to traverse Nar Shaddaa, I get lost and can't remember the relationships between the many different locations. Yeah, that's true. Partially this is due to some of the quick travel points being named dissimilarly to the taxi travel locations. Boy, that's true. And thus I've passed on to Tio a graphic map of the travel routes which you might find helpful. Color-coded for each faction and indicating whether you can get directly to an area or must traverse through some other zone of control. Hope this helps.
Impressive. I'll
Holy
include
cow.
a link to that
That
in
is-
the show notes, yes.
It's quite a flowchart. When it was a route map, I thought it was going to be like, a map. It's a flowchart. Holy cow. That was crazy, yeah. And of course, Nar Shaddaa that has all those really wacky ones, like where if you want to get that higher level cunning Datacron, and you're on, I think the Empire side, it's harder to get to. You have to go through some really wacky areas to get there.
Mm.
And even finding the right door is sometimes
Oh,
tricky.
yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, this is
I-
the
I-
usual one that blows the fire room,
Yep.
to get to the fire room.
I think I
Yeah.
finally memorized it, but geez, it took a long, long time to actually
Exactly.
work that one out. Yep.
Yeah, and he's right. The taxis are not named the same as the area, so it's like Yeah. And finally, an update to my rant on datacrons and codexes from a few weeks ago. I discovered that multiple characters can still access the datacrons, from which you pick up the matrix shards, and thus you can still get the codex from those locations.
It's something at least, because the matrix shards are not included in the legacy selection.
Okay. So not the regular datacrons, but the matrix shards you can still get. And that makes sense. Enjoy your holidays, make good choices, and be good humans. By random allotment, the winner is Gas Guy. So congratulations, Gas Guy. You're the winner of an M8-3R Droid Pet Code or Tonfon Pet Code, courtesy of BioWare, and an OotiniCast provided Cartel Market Pack from the latest shipment. And if you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com by next Tuesday. And that will bring us to the Holo feed. Tio?
Well, we've got some really, really meaty ones this week, and I honestly thought we wouldn't have anything to talk about. How was I to know? Anyway, firstly, something really boring. They are moving some support articles, like the free-to-play FAQ, start at 60 stuff, to Answers HQ. That's at help.ea.com, so this continues the move to centralize the EA's help resources for the game. So, yep, it's all going off the forums and the swotor.com website into EA's site. So, a bit of cost saving there, no doubt, as they consolidate. I'm sure they'll translate that into more content for us. Yeah, anyway.
Okay.
All right, now, we did mention that as of a little while ago, the friend referral program had been disabled because they found an issue during maintenance. That has been resolved and is now available, so you can start referring your friends as of now. So that's cool.
Right. And I heard it was actually not like broken. It was actually some sort of weird like bug where it became an exploit. Is that right? Where you could like accidentally have multiple people like doing the same sort of thing.
Yes.
That's what I had heard, but
or the
anyway,
same person could be referred by many, many people. So your one account would be, a whole lot of people. So that was not intended, clearly. Right. So anyway, that has been fixed.
Good.
All right, now let's talk about Game Update 4.0.3, which was released during regular maintenance for our window on Tuesday. Fairly small patch, 183 meg, and pretty long patch notes as it turned out. They have been doing a lot of bug fixing. So let's run through it. Firstly, there's the December event schedule, which we have already gone through because they talked about it last week in the December producer live stream /letter. That's for you, Andrew. Firstly, the Relics of the Gree event is up now, as of came up with the patch. Though, please note, there is a bug with the one of the Gree achievements. The player kills don't count for one of them. So, because they require bolster, and we no longer have bolster. So, has anyone been into the Gree area, into the Western Ice Shelf on Ilum? Have they actually removed the bolster? I'm guessing so, from what this guy is saying.
Certainly sounds like it. I have not made my way over there yet.
Okay, so just be aware, if you try and go in under level, you may not be bolstered. Or maybe they're just relying on regular level sync rather than the bolster to do the work, which would make more sense.
Yeah,
interesting.
Trying to have level sync and bolster coexist in my mind at the same time makes it hurt really bad, so I'm not going to do that anymore.
So I suspect they had exactly the same experience, and so they switched off bolster. So.
Yeah.
All right. Now, also as of Tuesday, we have the Old Republic 4th anniversary. 4 years. Rewards. So that's all up now. So we can find out what they were. They weren't revealed during the live stream. They just teased a few things. Firstly, you can purchase the Coruscant and Droman Cuss strongholds for only 4 credits. Well, actually, that's the intention, but it's actually bugged. So it's now the regular price of 5,000 credits. But, 4 credits. Awesome. Right. Last year it was 3 credits, so inflation,
Inflation, yes.
Yep.
I do like the credit sign that's actually been turned into a 4, or vice versa.
Presumably that's why they did it. Anyway, this will run through till January 5th for these fantastic low prices. But a little more interesting. Oh yeah. On the fleet, you can purchase. No, we already done that. Visit the anniversary personnel vendor to claim exciting in-game rewards, including HK51 commemorative statue, an Ebon Hawk Starship wall mount, that's probably okay, and the Ebon Hawk rest and recharge animation, which it's a usual rest and recharge item. You build up your health, etc., and it's as if you're playing with a little model of the Ebon Hawk, the starship from KOTOR and KOTOR 2. Yeah, it's kind of lame in my opinion, but
Yeah, I saw the little animation on Delphi. It was cute.
yeah,
It was fun.
It's not the worst regen they've made in the last 3 months. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, and I could
well,
see like
yeah,
I could see it being actually decent in for like PvP because it's not very visible. It's kind of subtle, actually. So like if you duck around a corner, it's not going to put up this huge, effect or anything that is going to give away the fact that you're healing.
right. For the decos, you can get up to 10 of them per legacy. So load the HK51 commemorative statue and the Wash Starship wall mount. But remember, you've only got until the 5th of Jan. Actually, 3rd of Jan. You've only got until the 3rd of Jan to actually get those items.
Okay.
Anything else that I missed? No, that's it. All right, let's go through the patch notes. Let's keep going through the patch notes. We also mentioned, also coming up in December is Rackle Plague Life Day starting December 15. Double XP event December 18, starting with The Force Awakens to January 1st. And then finally Bounty Contract Week, last week of December. Now, tons of stuff that they fixed. Apparently the Odessan heroic mission boards no longer cause errors when picking up new missions. So I didn't know that was a thing, but they fixed it.
I've actually had that happen on Fleet. I've actually never used the mission board on Odessa. I just use the one on the Fleet usually. But I've had that. If you're just sitting there clicking accept as quick as you can, it'll like bug out on you.
Right. Okay. This one's a little sad. They fixed an issue that caused Alacrity to affect companion summoning speed and transport activation times. So presumably they did not intend Alacrity to affect those things, so now it doesn't. Sigh. Apparently many of our companions have considerably reduced their nudist tendencies in our strongholds if you've put them in as decos. That's probably a good thing depending on the companion, or not such a good thing depending on the companion. You can get Darth Mar if you completed Chapter 1 as a deco. Less said about that, the better. Yep. They've done some stuff with Yavin Strongholds. The doors no longer glow on mouse over. I still haven't bought one because they're so damn expensive, but the Yavin Stronghold entrance Starship Hook now has additional options, so I was reading it's also bugged, where the decos have actually disappeared on the Yavin Stronghold. Yeah, they'll come back, I'm sure. You, no doubt, haven't lost them, hopefully. You can't get to Zakul and Odessan via the Galaxy map until you have completed Chapter 9. So previously you could actually just go there whenever, just via your Starship. But apparently you don't know that it's not entered into your Navi computer until you've actually completed Chapter 9. Let's see, I did pick out a few more. Fixed an issue where several companion customizations couldn't be sold on GTN. So if you've tried to in the past, now you can, and you failed to do that, now you can. Unbound loot boxes can once again be placed in legacy cargo holds. Now, is that what Kuze was alluding to last week? Where there was that strange countdown timer? Was that
No, it is not.
Okay.
That is not the same thing. That has not been fixed as of yet. The decorations from Star Fortresses still have a countdown timer.
Right.
But I have run into this. I, at any given time, have dozens of these hypercrates sitting around. And I'll move them from character to character to open them or whatever. Right. And so I would often keep a bunch of them in my legacy storage bank. I'd take it out on a character, and then you can never put it back in. It just stuck on the character. You can
Wow.
email it still, but you couldn't put it back in the legacy
Wow.
storage. It was
Okay.
weird.
All right.
That is a
But
weird
now
one.
fixed. Now, utility points no longer reset after committing them and closing the combat proficiencies window. I thought they already fixed this, but I guess it's just yet another variant on the theme, but fixed again, so that's great. Now, they've done a bunch of class changes. I won't go through them in too much detail. Jedi Guardians in the tank discipline appear to have got a bit of a buff, but for the most part, everyone kind of got nerfed quite a lot. There's a lot of stuff where you got a bonus to usually like 30%, and in many of these cases it's been reduced to only 10%. So damage increases, etc. So, like across the board, there's been a whole ton of nerfs. I haven't actually seen the effects of this yet, though I hear people weren't that impressed. Presumably this is balancing, though someone did actually list out how all the classes are performing against the meta that Bioware itself stated, which was melee sustain would be the best, and then melee burst, and then range sustained, etc. Sort of 105%, 100%
Right.
roughly, and yeah, they're still a fair way off in a few places. But anyway, as of now, things are a bit different, so I guess we'll see. Alright, let's move on. Anyone got any comments on the nerfs? Class nerfs?
I think overall, there were some classes that needed it. I think that there were some classes that definitely needed to be brought down to the pack a little bit, but there's definitely still some outliers on either end of the spectrum that seem a bit odd. I know Sharpshooter, the gunslinger spec, is in really bad shape just relative to everything else, and on the high end, one of the Sentinel classes is a good bit ahead of the pack in terms of theoretical sustained DPS, but it seems like the middle of the pack, I feel like it was directionally good, but didn't quite hit the bullseye.
Right. So maybe this is the first pass, and they're going to have more changes later once they to bring everyone else into line.
Yeah, I'll let you know tomorrow about the Vanguard, but
Yeah.
the Watchman spec probably is going to be the top spec now. The major problem they've done, though, is they've taken literally the top 8 parsing DPS specs and nerfed them pretty significantly, 8 to 10%. But they didn't bring healing down. So in PvP, you're removing a lot of burst, but they haven't toned down the healing in turn. So now healers are way overpowered in PvP.
Okay.
I think it's time for me to start healing in PvP is what I'm hearing.
There's going to be some very boring war zones then, as all the healers keep everyone alive.
Stand in a circle and heal each other.
Yeah. Well, certainly from the Republic side. Now, they addressed an issue where solo mode missions for numerous flashpoints were not syncing properly with the player's level. That would have been fun. I still haven't done a solo anything.
Yeah.
Now, if you go into Black Talon and Essalus, you are synced to level 11 instead of 10. So
Okay.
that could probably made things a little bit challenging. Now they're a little bit less challenging. Now, this one is an absolute tragedy. They fixed an issue where equipment wouldn't suffer durability loss. It's just wrong. It was so wonderful. You just wipe time after time after time. You go to repair, 0, because you didn't take any durability damage.
Yep.
Fixed, oh well.
Okay.
Yep, money
had-
sink back.
Yeah, we had like 3 people that had to go back to their strongholds to get things to vendor real quick for credits, like half an hour into raid last night because everybody had gotten used to being able to walk into raid with no credits.
Not anymore.
You don't cover their credit bills?
Yeah, why aren't you doing that? Oh, that's outrageous, Andrew.
I don't even have the most credits. I'm probably like 3rd on the list in that group of 8, so they can fend for themselves.
You need that guy I was reading about on Reddit who has 7 billion credits. Though he's probably not playing right now. Anyway. Moving on, all event-related decorations are now bind on pickup. So no more selling stuff like that on the GTN.
Okay.
They've dropped the common data crystal drops in tactical flashpoints. They were fixed an issue where classes were being awarded loot they could not use in tactical flashpoints, which is actually that would be quite a trick, given everyone uses the win stat now. Yes, I'm in mastering. Maybe they were above level or something.
Yeah.
If you weren't able to...
tankier to slingers, maybe?
Definitely. Droids and creatures in Star Fortresses now only require 450 skill to harvest. So if you've sort of tried to previously and you weren't able to, now you can gather using scavenging or... Well, what else would there be unless maybe some bio? They're all bloody sky troopers, so most likely it'd be scavenging.
I think there's a tiny bit of bio in one or two of the fights, but that's it.
Yeah.
So I guess, all right, well, that's fine. I guess you just don't have to be maxed out. It's all good.
Grade 6 archaeology nodes have been upgraded to grade 7 on Makeb. So just so you know. The Ice Scrabbler Jerky schematic now only drops on Hoth or Elam, which actually makes sense, as opposed to turning up all over the bloody place, as it has been known to do. I think I've got it as a... Sort of turned up on the Golden Poodle into Burrow's Courtyard occasionally as a drop. It's kind of weird, but anyway, it's where it's supposed to be. And I'll leave this next one, but I'll just mention in passing, it's no longer possible to purchase a stack of items and resell individual items for the price of the entire stack. Imagine if you could do that.
Yeah.
That'd be terrible. Imagine what it could do. Anyway, we will talk about that in a minute. Right. All class missions that occur between planets have had their item rewards updated. Presumably they were a bit crap before, now they're better. They fixed an issue. If you were stuck on the Zoist storyline, you can now progress. This one's a bit sad. Remember we had the tip where someone was doing bounty hunter missions? It was getting like 4 levels per turn in.
Right.
That's been fixed. They addressed an issue where the bounty hunting event missions were not scaling properly to the player's level. So that is now fixed. So no more 4 or 5 levels per turn in. A little sad again. Companions in the tank role no longer interrupt NPC and player channeled abilities. The player presumably is PvP. So anyway, yeah, if you're using your tank role to mess up people's day in PvP, you can't do that anymore, using a tank companion for that.
Huh.
So that's a bit sad. All PvP and Starfighter daily and weekly missions now grant experience based on character level. I wonder if anyone had noticed about this GSF before now. But anyway, that's fixed too. So there is an absolute ton of bug fixes here.
Yeah.
Now that every enemy in the galaxy knows not to do so, Treek has ceased repeatedly yelling, "You underestimate me." Why would anyone have Treek out anymore? Now that we don't really have to anymore. But anyway. They've added the mission weekly tactical flashpoints has been updated with a whole lot of tacticals that had been missing, given pretty much everything is a tactical now, so they're all, you can do any of them and get the mission updated rather than, I don't know, this kind of odd subset. And all that and more in Game Update 4.0.3 on a SWOTOR server near you. So yeah, absolute ton of stuff. And more to come, no doubt. And I should note that they are doing a patch. By the time you hear this, the downloadable podcast will have come out. Game Update patch 4.0.3a is coming out tonight, Thursday morning. So that will no doubt fix a couple of the more terrible errors that have cropped up, such as the GTN. So yeah, there's a bit of a problem with it. A whole lot of stuff isn't searchable, as I understand it. Bill, can you talk more about just what's going on there?
Yeah, it doesn't. It seems so random. Like some items you can still search. It doesn't matter. I shift left click everything that I search for, so it just pre-fills. And a lot of the most popular things. There's a lot of mats that you can't search for. It just doesn't show up. Augment kits don't show up. So it's unusable. I mean, it's hit and miss. Some items may show, some don't. I've been having problems for a while with some of those items are that way. I've reported bugs for the past 6 weeks since the expansion that I've seen items that I've listed and then go on and search for them and you can't find them. To just zero returns found. And somehow, instead of fixing it, it's gotten worse. It seems to just make this mass expansion all of a sudden. So hopefully that's going to be fixed tonight.
It better be. Well, yeah, it would have to be, surely. All right, what else? Now, they have changed the way that the current packs, the new Strategy Alliance pack is representative of this. It now has 2 primary slots. You may remember they reduced it to just 1 primary slot, which contains mount or armor. Right. So now you can get 2 of them. Same price, it's still 200 cartel coins for the pack. And yeah, so
yeah,
I think that's a sign they're not selling well.
Maybe, right.
Possibly.
Yeah, I noticed on Kranitoko's video that there was the double thing going on. So that, yeah, it looked almost like the old style packs, not quite.
This is all in response to feedback, and I also noticed Kranitoko said in that video that the rate at which new packs are coming out is pretty much 3 or 4 weeks now, as opposed to every 6, 9 weeks. So yeah, they're churning the packs out.
Yep.
We'll see if they keep up this rate now that they're going to be putting more stuff into each pack.
And I do think that was. Go ahead, Joe.
I was just saying that on Kranitoko's video, it looked like there's quite a lot of interesting stuff on the latest pack. So it's not, it's not like they're just putting it out for the sake of putting it out. They've still got some good ideas out there. So
maybe they found some extra people in the SWTOR team who weren't being occupied and just stick them onto the cartel creation team.
Maybe so. They used to monitor the forums. They were forum monitors before.
Right. Sure they were. Now, along with this, they have temporarily, apparently, taken off the bronze, silver, and gold packs, which Bill talked about earlier, off the market because of the change to the Strategy Alliance pack. So they will be coming back. Don't panic. But they haven't got any. They won't tell us when. So It's kind of odd choice.
I think in combination with what Bill already alluded to with the changes to the amount of things in the pack, I feel like if you take a step back and look at all the different choices that they're making, it just seems like the numbers just had to be brutal on the last 2 that they've put out, because they are tilting the scale so much in favor of people trying to get people to buy this pack that they're putting more stuff in it. They're taking competing items off the market. There's not really a whole lot else left to buy. There's, I believe, at least earlier today when I looked, I think it's literally the only thing on the packs tab, because they removed all the bronze, silver, and gold ones. So I think if this doesn't sell, then I feel like it's, if you remove the major competition and you up what's in it and they don't sell well, then that's really a problem, because what's left? You've already added things to it. You've taken competition off the market. I feel like I don't know. It just seems odd, and it seems like like we said, they're releasing stuff at a quicker pace, like Kranitoko was observing. So it seems like a little bit's kind of self-inflicted. Like they're putting so much out there that there was no way that the market was going to absorb that much stuff when you've got 3 packs out in a 9-week period, or not even that, and you've got the new bronze, silver, and gold packs. There was just so many things to use cartel coins on. So I think that it feels a little weird the way that they did it, but I think they needed to do something. They could have just delayed putting this pack out probably to get the same effect, but they needed to somehow spread it out a little bit. They were just flooding the market.
Right. Suppose, but this was the only way to get all that old stuff. So,
yep.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Let's talk about the sploits. specifically the one where you could purchase a stack of items, split it, and then return each individual item back for the price you paid for the stack. So this is what we call a duplication bug. Well, actually it's not really, but you get the idea. It's a way of spending X and getting 2X or 99X or whatever you want. So yeah, not good. So interestingly, this has been here for at least a few weeks. I think it came in Game Update 4.0, and they, in the post that came out after they fixed it, BioWare had made no mention of it previously. They said explicitly that with the last exploit, the one with the temple chair, they were very upfront and very public about its existence, and said that if you use it, you will get banned or suspended or whatever, and people went ahead and did it anyway. But that's kind of a intelligence test right there, but whatever. So but this time they decided that, well, people know what happens with exploits. They get in trouble if they do them. This is very, very clearly an exploit. If you think it's not an exploit, no words. But anyway, it's clearly an exploit. So what they have decided to do is, now they fix it, now they're going to punish everyone who made use of it. The more egregious, and they love that word, egregious, the use, the harsher the penalties. And there's a second post just today saying that the initial set of warnings, suspensions, and permanent bans of accounts have gone in. They did say only a small group of people are actually making use of it, though they talked a lot on Reddit, etc. But so not that many people made use of it, which is probably true. I'd heard about it a few days ago, but obviously, for the obvious reason, BioWare had been informed. You just steer well clear of this kind of stuff. But what the effect of it was, you could basically create an infinite number of common data crystals, which was the most common use I heard, and that would allow you to buy companion gifts, an infinite number of them, and you could basically raise up your characters, all of their companions, followers, up to rank 50 influence, and all of your alts up to rank 50 influence, etc., etc. So yeah, people who are really egregious are probably going to get their accounts permanently banned. A bunch of people have been suspended. Though what they're also doing is removing all credits, removing all commendations, resetting all influence gained with your companions, resetting all influence gained with base commanders, the guys in Odessa.
Dr. O and so on.
Yep. Removal of items purchased or gained via the exploit. So this last one's probably a bit hard to do, because it's probably a bit hard to work out. But personally, I would just ban them outright, but I can be a little harsh sometimes. In some ways, it'd be even better to not ban them, but leave them in game, but reset everything. Everything. Though there's probably ways around that, but especially taking away all the influence would be a really good move. So anyway, I've got absolutely zero sympathy for anyone who utilised this and got punished for it. Sucks to be you. You made that choice. So, and the argument that BioWare put it in the game, so it must be okay, it's just ridiculous, really. So anyway, BioWare are acting. And yeah, I guess we'll see. Of course, previously the exploit, people did get suspended, but they were only temporary bans. And they came back and they got to keep all this stuff. Hopefully this time they don't get to keep all this stuff. Because if they do, it's a bit sad.
Well,
Thoughts?
One thing that... Oh, sorry.
Well, there is the obvious question, which I would like you guys to talk about, is what this has done to the economy. Because obviously a lot of people flooded the market with all kinds of stuff, and you could also use this same trick to make an infinite number of credits. Some guy had got up to 7 billion credits. It's just, and so all of that is now in the economy and has made a hell of a mess of everything. Or has it? You tell me.
So, I think that it's, and I was replying to some of the conversations on Reddit today about this, that I feel like it's too early to judge the impact of this on the economy until we give them some time to implement all of the punishments that they're outlining they want to. I have a healthy skepticism, just like most people do, just because it's quite an undertaking to try and really remove all of this from the economy, but it's not impossible. If they really want to do it, there's a lot of things that they can do to track this down. and remove things. So there's a chance that the economic impact could be small in the long run if they're able to follow through on what they're outlining that they want to do. And the thing that I like about the update post that Musco put up today was that the process that he seems to be describing involves suspending a lot of accounts and then using that suspension time not as the punishment itself, but as the way to freeze everything and go through and follow the breadcrumbs for those accounts and figure out where things went. Because that's really the problem, is there's a lot of ways to SWOTOR money launder your credits, to other accounts and all these different things that people do to try to dodge the eventual punishment that have worked in the past. Honestly, that is the truth, and that's why people have lost faith in their ability to do it to some extent, because a lot of people have touted on Reddit and on other places their ability to dodge punishment by avoiding it. If they're able to actually follow the trail of where the credits and the items go and actually punish the people involved and not let them server transfer and move credits around and things like that, which I think is more of a matter of time. It's a question of how much time they want to devote to it more than their ability to do it. I think they can do it if they are willing to put the time into it, because they can track all these things that happen in the game. They're just going to have to really go account by account and follow the transactions and things like that. But if they do, the impact could be somewhat small, I think, actually, if they actually are able to execute on this plan. So I'm willing to give them a little time to work through it, because it's quite an undertaking. Now, in 2 weeks, if we're still seeing the negative impacts of it, and there's tons of people posting screenshots of what they did and them not being banned, then okay, that's going to be disheartening if that's where we're at in 2 to 4 weeks. But I'll give them a couple weeks to work through the process before I judge them on something that isn't done yet.
And let's remember, this is the holiday time too, and we know last year, and as a guide, they're not real active during the holiday period at BioWare. So it goes back to how much resources are they willing to put into this. I think a little bit of what Andrew is referring to is this could, if you want to give them credit, this could be a self-weeding garden strategy that they're taking, where they identify some of the largest accounts that they think were maybe moving credits back and forth between free-to-play accounts and things like that, banning the ones they know are the problems, and then watching for activity on the suspected accounts that aren't banned, because it's the same player. So if I have 2 accounts and I know account A is banned, I log in account B and play that for the next week, but I never do. All of a sudden I know, yes, I have a confirmed match between the 2 accounts. But it goes back to how much resource are you going to put into it?
Yeah, and that is what it comes down to it. Yep.
One thing that is interesting just about the impact of it, I started hearing from people pretty early in 4.0 about this, and I think there's 2 points here I want to make. One is that there's been a lot of conversations about when was it reported and things like that, and I think that from conversations I've had with a lot of people, there were people who were posting back in the first week of 4.0, even during early access, and saying that there's clearly an exploit because I see someone selling 15 stacks of 99 rank 6 companion gifts. Clearly there's an exploit because that's not possible. And going back to that and saying, I told BioWare, on the 3rd day of early access that there was an exploit, but that's not telling them. It's not telling them there's an exploit to just observe the sudden appearance of all the things. That doesn't give them anything to actually go on as to the origin or type of exploit that there is. And so I think that there's a little bit of unfair criticism being leveled at BioWare, when you're going to criticize them for not fixing a bug that you're saying was reported, but if all they were told was there's all these companion gifts, that's not reporting an exploit to them. That doesn't tell them what the actual problem is. So I think that's one thing that, just in fairness to them, people have to actually tell them what the exploit is if you want them to be able to turn around and fix it. Otherwise, it's just a wild goose chase for them to try and figure out where they're coming from. And the second part of that is that there are... I lost my train of thought completely. Shoot.
That's okay. Anything more on this?
If it was that good, I'd remember it.
All right. Last piece of regular news is there was an interview that was done on MMORPG.com, which I do find a little ironic, that where Bruce McLean, senior producer, Ben Irving, the Australian lead producer, Charles Boyd, they credit him as lead designer, but he's lead designer creative, formerly head writer, and actually Debbie Sue, the marketing person, were talking about, well, they just talked to them about Kotvie. It was in two parts, and I honestly thought that if they were going to announce any new group content, such as operations and stuff, whatever, PvP, it would be here, because this particular site is for all of those MMOs out there. But no, they just talked about everything we already know. So, story was basically the quick summary. They did talk about a couple of promotions coming, starting December 15, where they're apparently working with NVIDIA, and they'll probably announce the details about this in the next few days, where you can win a couple of NVIDIA systems and 10 high-end graphics cards will be given away. You're supposed to share video clips of building an alliance or something. So anyway, details of that no doubt will come. And they're also offering, from December 15-ish, the ability for people to play through Chapter 1 without subscribing. So it's like a free trial of the Kotvie content. And given Chapter 1 is, in my opinion, the best, well and truly, if you're going to hook in anyone, that would probably be the way to do it. So
yeah, exactly. And because they did the run-through before launch, so it's not like that content isn't sort of available to be watched as a video. So it's a good one to give away.
Yep. But aside from that, there was pretty much nothing new. They did talk about sort of how they would link in with the movie, and what all they'll do is pretty much add in the planets, maybe. Because obviously the planets are still there back 3,000 years ago when the Old Republic is set, so why not? But yeah, certainly no flow the other way. This is their playground, the Old Republic, to do it as they wish. But yeah, bottom line, story. All right, let's move on to community news. Firstly, thanks to our latest Utini patron, Michelle, or Mikel, so either way, and also to Kim for their donation. Thank you. It all keeps the Sandcrawler running, so to speak. Now, actually some sad news. There was a gentleman on Twitter who we knew as Dark Edge Gaming, who was a regular in our chat room and a regular correspondent with the show. Yep. His real name is Joe Kaiser, and he unexpectedly died. So it's always kind of weird for someone that you know, sort of in the community, to pass away. And so Sashari, our old friend Sashari, actually wrote quite a nice little eulogy. I'm very saddened to have heard about the loss of Joe Kaiser, known to many in the SWTOR player community as Dark Edge Gaming. He was an avid supporter of many streamers and podcasts, and yes, he was. Mm-hmm. And Sashari, I am proud to have met him and to have been his friend. His loss was very sudden, and he will be deeply missed. If you are moved as I am to contribute to the GoFundMe campaign set up to help his family with expenses, because it was an unexpected loss, and so the family's left a bit hopping, I will link with that. And he actually came, and this is a little sad, third in our SWTOR meme contest. So OotiniCast will be donating to that fund as well on just because. So farewell, Dark Edge Gaming.
Yeah.
Alright, so on to slightly happier news. The SWTOR meme contest 2015 is done, and the winners have been selected. So I picked a somewhat large panel, including Eric Musco, who did actually put in their votes.
Oh,
so
very
thanks,
nice.
Eric. Yeah. So and also a few others were the brothers Wilson. That's Suki and Micah. So thank you guys. Jesse, Dekion, and Fee also put in their votes. You did, of course, Jill. Ari, whose idea this whole contest was. Oh, and I've probably forgotten someone. And it's... anyway, so thank you, everyone. So our winners, and this was also the popular... the most popular in terms of likes and retweets, etc., was from Vladimir from the Shadowlands. I believe he's an Old Republic Dads. And he wins 60 days game time to SWTOR. And his was the meme, "Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, but kneel before me and join me maybe." So based on the all too repeated Call Me Maybe song. So
That's pretty funny.
yeah, that was, so no arguments there. Now the second is from Lauren, at Ness the Happy, who wins 2,400 Cartel coins. It's a picture of a character with Koth, one of our new followers, and the caption is, "Okay, here's the plan. You attack that group of 5, I will farm this crafty node over there." So, which pretty much sums up how many of us play. Now,
And Lauren is one of my officers in my guild on the Jedi Covenant.
there you go. So congratulations,
Very nice.
Vladimir. Congratulations, Lauren. Well done, guys. Now, third place was one of mine, which I included in the mix. I included both mine and Chill's in there. And the way we set it up was the list of memes was actually anonymized, so the people making the choices didn't actually see any information about who put them up. So mine was the Valen, "Strong in the Force with mummy issues. We're so screwed" meme. So thanks, guys. Now, a couple of the runners-up who will also get a 450 Cartel coin code. Firstly, it was a tie. Blacklock, who put in many memes, and they were very popular. And this was Valkorian looking a little pensive. "Have another child," she said. "She'll be a little daddy's girl," she said. Talking about Valen, of course, and didn't that work out well? And the other one was Ethcom, who also gets the 450 Cartel coin code. And, "Excuse me, Outlander, do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Saviour Zildrog?" Yes, very cool. So congratulations, everyone, and thank you, everyone who entered. I will put up a gallery of all of them just in one place to be permanently memorialized on OotiniCast.com. So I suspect we'll probably do this again sometime in the future, but it's amazing. Thank you all.
Yeah, those are great. That was a lot of fun to do.
My personal favourite was from Alex Mix Up Pixels, which he had the Star Wars The Old Republic Knights of the Fallen Empire with knights scrawled out and Sky Troopers put in instead. So that was awesome.
That's funny.
So true. So true. Anyway, that's the news.
All right. Gosh. That'll bring us to the Force Feedback, where we read out your tweets and emails. And chat room, if you have any questions to ask, we'll be gathering them now to answer once we're done with the feedback. And Jason Brown writes in, "Looks like Kaizen Fest has reset for me as well," referring to something that happened to me when I was working on Kaizen Fest the other week. And yeah, it was weird. Like I said, I worked on him a week or two before that. When I went back to complete the quest, all the little critter pelts or whatever they are were all gone, and I had to talk with him from the beginning, actually. So I'm not sure what was going on with that, but apparently it is not just me. So sorry that happened to you, Jason. Like I said, the one class that I was on, it was the one with Kaizen, so I was able to then go ahead and get him easily. You know, I decided to take the easy way out the second time through, and I don't know if that was possible for your character, but yeah, I guess I guess the best workaround would be, if you're doing Kaizen, just to prepare to do it all at once, or prepare to do the world bosses so you can go right back to him and turn it in. So, alright, Mashindar via Reddit wrote, "Kaizen's quest was reset with the last patch. It might be reset again on the next patch, so people should complete it before the next patch, or it may reset.
Too late,
There's a
but
theory.
I suspect it was as well. It looked like they changed something, and so whenever they change a mission in any way, shape, or form, it gets reset. So that's presumably what
Okay.
happened.
Lovely.
Yeah.
That'll make me think about, the other companions and how often I go back and finish them. Ewan from Jedi Covenant wrote, this is a follow-up on the question from last week. Does level sync boost the missions in the mission log below the character level up to the character level?
Which is a good question.
Yeah. I ended up leveling a character just doing exploration, heroic, and killing what I aggroed. I have attached a screenshot of the agent's starting quest at level 27. Level 27. The XP and credits go up, the items do not.
There you go. So it does scale up to your level. So the credit rewards are up, the XP is up, but the items are still whatever the level they were before. So, cool.
Okay.
Thank you for confirming that.
Yeah. And a question. This is also continuing on from Ewan. A question for PvPers. I'm wondering if the need for a new Warzone map is more a sign of a different problem. I haven't done a lot of Warzone since leveling my first character almost exclusively with them at launch, but I did play Warhammer a long time. I noticed if the matches are close and hard fought, the queues are short. There usually isn't a huge demand for new maps. For me, it was never about maps or rewards. It was about the challenge of beating the other side. So I'm wondering, is the problem the lack of new maps or a lack of challenge in PvP?
That's a good question for PvPs.
Right. Well, there is a balance there. There's certainly, the war zones are the most repeatable content in the game.
Yep.
On the other hand, you can only do the same map so many times. That's my opinion. And eventually you do need to expand the options a little bit. Bill, it sounded like you had an idea, though?
This is one of those, just don't want to get me started. I could do 90 minutes on this topic. I'd love to host Dave and argue about it, too. To me, yes. I think both are equal problems, honestly. I've complained for 4 years about matchmaking in PvP, and everybody wants to argue that it's a population issue, but it's not. They don't care about it. This to me is one of the huge dichotomies that drives me absolutely crazy about BioWare. In every other part of the game, they say it's not about quantity, it's about quality. But then when it comes to PvP, they take the first random 8 people and match them up, and it's more about the quantity of matches instead about the quality of the game. And it drives a lot of people away when you just get raffle stomped over and over again. Or you win and it's not fun either. It doesn't matter either way. But that being said, I do think that one new map every quarter or every 6 months is not out of the question, and it helps breathe light and bring new people in and keep it going. But absolutely, there's matchmaking issues all day long.
There you go.
Okay. It's a little of both. And Brad Pepper writes, Voss, no neck, has anyone encountered this before? Gate & Co. on the Defender. Oh my gosh, that picture is hilarious. Wow. It looks like he's hunching his shoulders up so his neck has disappeared.
That's a rather unfortunately designed character model. I wonder what happened. Yeah,
that's one way to keep the Voss from being 9 feet tall.
All right, the next email I'm not sure we should read, but why don't we do it and then I'll cut it out. So I haven't actually... Yeah, go, from Charlie.
Okay, from Charlie. Is this Kranatoko?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, from Charlie Kranatoko. Oh dear, it's happened once again, with BioWare trying their damn hardest to build hype for an event which, well, never delivered on its promise. Don't get me wrong, some of the HK-55 stuff was kind of cool. Playing as HK-55 in an exclusive mission will be awesome, but something tells me it'll be a gimmick that will be forgotten quite quickly afterwards. Plus, when they said that all the rewards were HK-55 related, well, here's a little meme. HK-55, HK-55 everywhere. The old Toy Story one. I know it might be too much to ask, but if BioWare is listening, could we have some sort of loyalty for long-term subscribers, as in the ones who've been playing since launch? It doesn't have to be like the statues they gave to the long-term players of World of Warcraft in its 10 years, but perhaps something to keep long-term subscribers into keeping their subscription active. I don't know what BioWare is smart. They can find something good. Oh, and one final freaking note. When will we get a proper Life Day event, BioWare? I am getting sick with just throwing snowballs. I want an event that will take me across the galaxy, maybe having to collect some sort of item or fight a boss that only appears on Life Day or something like this. Not standing on the fleet for an hour throwing snowballs hoping the parcels with such a small drop rate will drop. I just won't. Anyway, enough of me rambling. No doubt many people are saying the exact same thing. Love and hugs, and have a little rat ghoul plague too. Charlie, a.k.a. Kranatoko.
Well, he's right about the Life Day event. It would be nice to spice it up a little bit. As far as the anniversary event goes, why not? Other games do it. Lotro certainly does it. The longer you've been subscribed, they give you better stuff. You get more stuff for every year you've been a subscriber, say. WoW's done it before. SWTOR could do it in the future. Maybe for 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm all for events. Are always fun, especially the short-term events, because it really does give you an incentive to get out there and actually do something new and different for a little while. And that's not just, doesn't feel like another daily or another thing that's just going to settle into always being in the game, that sort of thing. So, let's see. Any other comments before we move on? Okay. And I have no idea how we're going to pronounce this. Ichthyus. I'm pretty sure about ichthyus because that's based on the word for fish. Great cast, guys. Just heads up, I think the reason behind the gates being different now is due to the players that are colorblind. Red and green are very hard colors for those that are colorblind to see.
That's a really interesting theory. Yeah. I'll pay that.
Because the red one is solid hexes, and then the green one is broken hexes. So it's kind of like open.
Yeah.
That's clever. I
Good
like
thought.
it. Very nice. So there's probably people out there who appreciate it just for that. And Knight wrote in, just want to throw my opinion out there. If it's too rude or controversial, feel free not to share. I just felt like I wanted to get it off my chest somehow. And of course, Knight, as usual, did the audio clip thing.
It's not too bad. Well, we'll see.
Hey OotiniCast, this is Knight from the Harbinger. I just wanted to throw my opinion out there regarding the HK55 bonus chapter and some of the issues I've heard people talk about. Now, some people have said that they feel like they're being forced to pay $120 or so to be able to get this companion chapter in August. And they feel like it's something that shouldn't be behind a paywall. Well, it's a veteran reward. When have veteran rewards not been behind paywalls? In most games, like take City Heroes for example, to get the veteran reward you had to be subscribed for a whole year, and in most cases it was just a title and some costume pieces. In SWTOR's case, the veteran reward is only for about 6 months or so, and you get a whole chapter where you get to play as not only a different character, but a character a lot of people really enjoy, and it's one of their favorite companions both in KOTOR and in this game. And the reason I think some people are complaining about it is, well, first off, they feel they've been subscribed for the last 4 years, so they shouldn't have to subscribe a few extra months to get this, and they feel like they've earned it. Well, yes, and I mean, I've been subscribed since beta, and I've enjoyed the game, and it would be awesome if they had a retroactive subscription reward system, but they don't. And this reward is particularly for these next few months. So, if you want to get the veteran reward for being subscribed until August, you have to be subscribed till August. So, anyways, that's my take on it, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you around in the Harbinger. Take care. Bye.
And as Snape said, he missed out mentioning it was unprecedented.
All right. It's kind of funny because it's almost like the mirror image to Kranatoko's opinion on the same subject.
Mm-hmm.
Where it is a subscriber benefit, and there you go. And Charlie did himself say that that he'll have fun doing it. So I guess it's the question of, what kind of rewards do you really want to have, and will they be ongoing, or will be more like the one-time kind with the HK55 chapter.
Is this a good time to bring up, Andrew, the whole 2-day thing that you wrote about? 2 days early access.
Sure. Yeah, we can talk about it here if you want to.
Yep, throw it in.
Sure. So that was the blog that I posted this morning, was about one of the other aspects of this, which they said that if you're subscribed on the first of the month, for each month beginning with Chapter 10, that you would get early access 2 days before the chapter goes live to everyone.
Right.
And it kind of got glossed over in the brouhaha that followed the live stream and the forum thread and all of that. And when I was going back and rereading it, looking for something else, I kind of just caught my eye and I was like, wait a second, because there were 2 dates in the post, and it kind of got me thinking when I started to look at it that. And I remember during the live stream, somebody noticed that the date that they had put on Chapter 10 coming out was a Thursday, and it was just kind of odd because we're used to everything coming out on Tuesdays because that's just normally what happens. And so I remembered that, and then I was looking at the dates, and I realized that it feels disingenuous the way that they're presenting it, because in order to get 10 on that Thursday, you have to be a subscriber. And so if you're subscribed on the 1st, they're going to give it to you 2 days earlier on Tuesday, which is when we would normally expect new content to come out, and that's when Game Update 4.1 is being released. And so functionally the only people who would actually get Chapter 10 on Thursday would be someone who managed to subscribe between the 2nd of the month and the Thursday when it comes out. Otherwise, you wouldn't have access to it at all. So it just feels like it's not that it's wrong or that it's a lie. It's not a lie. It's not, and there's nothing, they can do it if they want to. It just seems odd to you put it out there as something that is a reward when they could have just said, if you're subscribed, you get it on Tuesday the 9th, which is what everyone would have expected. It's not really giving it to anyone any earlier than...
Right, except for very few people who subscribe between the 1st and the 9th.
Yeah, so are they really going to...
a tiny fraction, yeah.
Are they really going to put in a content gate for however many people subscribe between February 2nd and 10th? That just seems like a waste of time to put in a content date to arbitrarily not let those people who subscribe too close to the chapter coming out to make them wait 48 hours. It's such a short period of time, and it's such a small group of people theoretically. It has to be a tiny fraction of the number of people who are going to have access to Chapter 10 that week. Can you really call it early access if what you're calling early is when 95 to 99% of the people get it, and then the 1 to 5% of people who happen to subscribe to the game right beforehand get it later? It seemed unnecessary more than anything. That's the thing that bugged me about it so much, was just no one would have criticized them if they just said, hey, subscribers, you get Chapter 10 on February 9th. So it just kind of, it cheapened it, that we're supposed to be excited about early access on the date that we would have expected to have gotten it anyways.
Yeah, I mean, if they'd phrased it as a 2-day penalty for subscribing late, they wouldn't have gone. Doesn't sound quite as good.
Doesn't sound as good.
Yeah,
that's right. Instead, they get to put it in the column of subscriber benefits.
Yeah, so I guess it's just a bit of an illusion, really. So
yeah, and it's not anything that, it's not like they came up with a new concept here. There's plenty of businesses that will do things like this to frame something up so that there's perceived value that has minimal cost to them. That's a great business move. If you can get marketing benefit for no actual cost to you, then that's great. But kind of like if you exploit something and then you get in trouble for it. If you try to pull a marketing play like that and then someone calls you on it, like that's just kind of comes with the territory. If you're going to try and get marketing value for nothing of actual substantive value on your end, you just have to be willing to accept the fact that some people might point that out.
Yeah. All right, let's move on, and because we got that discussion at the end that I do want to get to.
Right. Joseph Brown wrote in with a picture, a screenshot. Look out, Treek's gone over to the Empire side, the buff says. So look out, Republic players. And sure enough, Treek on the Jedi Sentinel has one
Has a Marauder buff.
Marauder buffs.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I wonder how that... And the weird thing
How
is
they screw that up, who knows?
Yeah. And it's only the Marauder buff, so is it the Sentinel? Maybe this player or this account only has the one class. No class is done yet, maybe, but it's pretty weird to only have the one buff too. But yeah, it is definitely the Empire one. Well, we always say if there's gonna be something weird happening and it's only affecting Republic or Empire, it'll always affect the Republic. Because it's true like 98% of the time. All right. Dekion wrote, this is from an official photo from Force Awakens. And holy cow, there's a lot of aliens and a couple of droids. It's pretty slick looking. Looks like they're going to have fun.
Yes, and he asks whether the third standing from the left is Scorpio.
Oh.
That's kind of key point of this. That's why I sent it in. Sorry.
Interesting. Kind of Scorpio-ish.
There is a resemblance there.
Yeah.
It's very strong, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at it side by side.
Yeah, with like the ear triangles pointing out the side and the...
Well, I guess
it's a fembot. So.
Exactly. I was going to say, there's only so many ways you can actually do a fembot, but there's more than a passing resemblance.
Yeah.
So is Scorpio now canon?
Let's hope. I'd love to see him pull anything from SOTOR, into the movie. We'll have to keep an eye out for that when we watch it.
That would be... I think a lot of people were wondering if there would be tie-ins between, the game and the movie, and that would be one that would be interesting and plausible, because having someone like Scorpio in the movie is a lot easier than a lot of other things that people threw out in terms of planets or, more complex lore and things like that. So it would certainly be interesting, and she's prominent in some of the recent content, so.
Yeah. And if she's only a like a background or tertiary character in the actual movie, then, it's pretty easy to put her in. Zordy from the chat is saying Scorpio's a rip of Metropolis to begin with, which is kind of true.
That's true, yeah.
But of course, C-3PO himself was as well, originally. He looked a lot closer to the Metropolis robot originally, and then he kind of developed a little bit away from it, but you can still see the vague resemblance. So it would make sense. It's possible that this is all sort of, basically things evolving along their own lines for different reasons, but ending up at the same place. All right. Next one?
I'm just wondering. I think I'll... No, cut these last two. Let's just do the renderings and we'll move on. Yep.
All right.
Next week.
Okay. Did you want to do Rendrin?
Yes.
Okay. Rendrin wrote, Star Wars puns. Did you hear about all the Jedi killed by the cyborg general during the Clone Wars? They had grievous wounds.
Grievous wounds?
Yes. Lovely.
Yep.
All right. Good enough. Moving on to the Sarlacc Digest, where we go over the issues for 1,000 years, or until we run out of time. And Tio, you wanted to introduce the Nightmare Lootgate issue.
Oh yeah, Lootgate. So, alright, so let's start from the beginning. Back on 9 of July, George Smith, senior designer in charge of operations and flashpoints at the time, wrote a blog called Operations of Flashpoints in Fallen Empire. So, and what he basically said is we weren't getting any new ones, but they're going to take all of the old ones and make them relevant again, which they have done, and that has all worked pretty well, except for the bugs. But generally, yeah, it's all pretty good. Now, firstly, it was noted by Swordle Potato, because it's in his LinkedIn, that George Smith is no longer working on Star Wars The Old Republic. He is still at BioWare.
Right.
However, he has moved on to Mass Effect Andromeda, the next iteration of Mass Effect, which did not end with Mass Effect 3, as much as you would expect it would have. But no, it rolls on. But yeah, so George Smith is no longer working at BioWare. So as to who is now in charge of operations of Flashpoints, if anyone, we don't know. So anyway, but that's not the point of what we're covering here. In that blog that he wrote a while ago, there was a reference to Nightmare Mode loot. What it actually said was, for Nightmare Mode the original was, Nightmare Mode will also be available for all the operations that had it previously, and will reward the same as the highlighted hard mode, as all the unique mounts and titles as well as all the unique mounts and titles available currently. For hard mode operations, one operation per week will be highlighted, which is what he's talking about, the highlighted ones, to give even greater rewards. And as we know now, what happens is, for the highlighted hard mode, it drops 224 off every boss, rating 224 gear, as opposed to 220, which is what you normally get for hard modes. According to this, the text of this, it was interpreted by the community quite accurately that their intention was that Nightmare Mode would always drop 224 loot from every boss. However, there was a post this week where what they effectively said was, well, you know what we said? That's not actually true. And if you go back and look at the blog now, it has been retconned to say Nightmare Mode will also be available for all the operations that had it previously, comma, they will have a chance to drop top-end gear as well as all the unique mounts and titles available currently.
I see. Okay.
And as well as being bad grammar, it now reflects the new intention, as was in the post, which basically said they never intended 224 to drop off every boss in Nightmare Mode. There was just a chance, and there is a bug with that chance. People have been saying for a long time now that it never turned up. Presumably they got the percentage wrong, so it's like 0 or very close to. And so it never dropped, but what they're going to do is fix that. So as stated now in the blog, there is now a chance of getting 224 gear. So, and that will happen with the release of Chapter 10 in Game Update 4.1 in February. There is the obvious question about how long it takes to update a probability in a loot table. But maybe some things do take months. I don't know. But anyway, so this seems like a very strange decision, and as you can probably imagine, the internet went cray-cray over this. People were generally unimpressed. I can't honestly fathom their reasoning. It seemed like their intention was quite clear initially. Clearly it changed, and as to why, I mean, what's the big deal with Nightmare Mode, which do remain harder, except in the case of the ones which had the Nightmare Power buff. In those cases, those, like Dread Palace and Dread Fortress, are basically hard modes with extra mechanics. But the old ones are effectively the same, still true Nightmare, so to speak, relative to the hard mode versions.
Right.
At least as far as we know. So, Andrew, you wrote a somewhat, I don't know if vitriolic is the right word for a post about this.
Oofalong phrased it in my favorite way so far. I wrote this blog from a very frustrated perspective, and I almost didn't even post it on the blog because it was very much me just kind of writing it out so that I could move on with my workday because I was pretty frustrated with the state of things. But then I decided to post it, and then I waited a little bit longer even, and eventually decided to post it on Reddit and on Twitter and things. And Oofalong referred to it as visceral and raw. And I think that's a fair statement about where I was at when I was writing it. It was not necessarily the most polished thing. It was more of a coping mechanism than it was an analysis. And so, having said all that, yeah, it's taken on a bit of a life of its own, really, more so than I expected it to. It's in its rawness, it seems to have struck a chord with a lot of people, and echoed a lot of things that people were feeling when they were reacting to it too. And the core of it was just the timeline of it all. I mean, the fact that it was 151 days, as the title of it said, from when they posted this blog, which was the keystone statement about operations and flashpoints in this entire expansion, and then to 151 days later go back and say there was a typo and that the intent all along was not expressed correctly, it's just hard to swallow. You know, as someone who has gotten into raiding in the last year, and you know, has really grown attached to that part of the game, but I think it also the sheer irrationality of some of this. There were so many people that were posting on the forums and on Twitter and things, just saying, "I've never even run a story mode op," but that just doesn't make sense. Like, you don't even hardly have to understand what an MMO is to understand that A is harder than B, but B is going to give you something better than A. That's just right. Not how anything is structured anywhere. It just doesn't make any sense. So I think what I said in the blog, I think, is still true. That if this is honestly their intent to fix it, to quote unquote fix it in February, and to make it the original, I guess, percentage chance that they wanted it to be, then it's a waste of development hours to do that. Don't bother. It's not. What's the point? You're going to take it from too low of a spot up to a less low spot when every person who's going to set foot in that raid is already going to have a fully optimized set of 224 gear in February. Or if they don't, they're going to be better off running priority hard modes. They've completely undercut nightmare modes as part of the gear progression by having the priority hard modes drop the same gear as nightmare mode. Because hard mode Eternity Vault and hard mode Karaga's Palace are easier than some hard mode flashpoints and probably a couple tactical flashpoints. Like, you don't even have to be 65. You can run those hard mode operations with a level 60 to 64 character. You can run it in Insta 60 gear or resurrected token gear from the story mode ops of the last tier. And so there's just no way that you can give out the same gear in those two operations especially, and then turn around and not even give out that gear in the nightmare modes. It just, I've already repeated myself plenty. I'll let you guys jump in to save me from continuing to talk for more. But it's just, there's so many things wrong with the thought process and with the retcon of it and the timeline of it to say that you're going to wait another 150 days before it's going to be fixed, and then even the fix isn't something that anyone wants. It's just odd. There's just no...
I guess I should also mention at this point that we still have heard nothing about the MMO bits. Nothing about group content, and as we know, when we only thing we hear is silence, when there are constant requests from BioWare to release, say something about it, that usually means that they aren't doing it anymore, and there is no value in them coming out and saying that, because if they say nothing, there remains the hope that it could still be there. And if we just wait long enough, it will eventually turn up, but there remains nothing. And then we have this, which is, again, as Andrew has said, a kind of odd decision. Chill, Bill, do you guys have any thoughts?
Well, I would say this. Look, I have been saying for over a year that there would never be another nightmare mode made. And a lot of people argued with me about it, that it was underwork. There was never going to be another one made. I have been saying now for 6 months, there's never going to be another operation made. I wholeheartedly believe it. Everything has told me that. There is no way they're going to do it. It's not the business model they're going after. And I'm sure we could have another 90-minute discussion about, are they making the right move? I know my answer. I think I know Andrew's answer as well. But it doesn't matter. From a business perspective, they're going after the 45% of the population of this game that wants solo story content. And while it's not the majority, which is what the problem is, 45% is a major portion. And if they can do just enough content to get that $15 a month out of them, they have won. Because those are not heavily intensive players. They don't ask for the moon like everyone else, like all of our PvPs and all the PvE and the operations. They can meet the 1 hour of gameplay a month and have a successful business model. That's what they're going after. To me personally, my approach was, I had said, it's been 2 weeks ago now, I'm unsubbing again. I did go through a period where I was unsubbed. I came back for the expansion. I played through it. I've done everything. And I'm going back to my unsub state. It's a little different for me because I can afford to unsub and keep myself afloat with
Right.
what I do in the game. I have everything unlocked. I have operation passes for weeks. I have PvP weekly passes for weeks. So it doesn't have that huge of an impact on me. But that's what I would say out to the community, is that if you really are believing that I'm holding on waiting, they're not listening. They're only listening to the money flow. If you keep subscribing, they're taking their current action as acceptable, period.
That's a good point. And there's been a lot of people saying this is the Nightmare thing, is the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of staying subscribed. They are giving up hope. And maybe that is the correct thing to do. If you are primarily a raider, if you want to do operations, it looks like nothing's going to change. As Bill brought up, I am very much reminded of what they did with Nightmare Operation, Nightmare Mode for Temple of Sacrifice and blanking. And the Ravagers, thank you, where they just didn't talk about it until they finally said, well, actually, no, it just never turned up. They just never did it, and now won't. So could this be the same thing as applied to operations? Chill, any thoughts?
Oh, certainly could be. I mean, when was the last time that they would say, we will talk about the MMO bits in 2016, even just
mentioned
when
in passing at a cantina, I believe.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and it was, even then, it was very vague about what they would be talking about and when they would be talking about it. And so, obviously we haven't heard anything yet. It's not 2016. The whole change in the gear of Nightmare Operations just seems like an odd thing to be focusing on anyway. It's not really gonna gate anyone who's really who's up at that level anyway. And for folks like us who are just kind of jogging along, taking it slow, I guess it makes a little difference, but not that much. So I don't know. It's just, it doesn't even. I would have preferred that they just kind of clarify or fix a bug if if it was in fact bugged, or whatever. But to actually change what's going to be dropped is a strange thing to focus on at this point.
Yeah, and if they were gonna, that's just the thing. If they could make this all better, just by saying, "Yep, we are gonna work on it. Expect it sometime, say halfway through next year. There'll be a new operation. There'll be new flashpoints. We have not forgotten. There will be a new PvP map. They're coming. Just hang on." If they just said that, that would be enough. As a promise that there is more comment coming. There is more content coming. But again, the silence is deafening.
Yeah, and I think a couple things that come to mind. One is that I think that there are given where we sit right now, I think that there are things that they can do that would be better solutions for the current Nightmare tier than what they're now saying was the intent. That instead of doing this, just have Nightmare Mode drop some like 3 Dark Matter Catalyst per boss, and just don't even have it drop gear. Just say it's not going to drop gear. If you want to gear up in 224s, go do the priority hard modes, but you can get 3 Dark Matter Catalysts per boss and mounts and decos, and just do that. Like that would be better than in February increasing the percentage chance of a 224 drop. Like there's other things that they can do other than this that would still be better. But I also think, to piggyback on what Bill said and take it a step further, I think it was actually on a previous episode of this show that I said this, or it was in a blog, that I think that there's a real possibility that not only, yeah, it's a fact now that we're never going to see a Nightmare Mode again, and there shouldn't be, because there's no Nightmare Mode raiders left in the game of any significant number at this point. So that's fine. I think there's a real possibility that we never see another operation in the game, because if this is successful, if periodic story content is enough to maintain the revenue model for the game,
Yeah.
if this is a success, it's going to validate the fact that they don't need to do it. And if it's not a success, they're rapidly approaching the point where it's going to be hard to turn back before everyone's gone. So it's hard to make a business case for why they shouldn't go all in on the path that they're on. I wholeheartedly disagree with it, and I don't think it will work from a business side of it. I think that $15 a month is more than any game has shown the ability to collect for purely periodic story. That's more than the most comparable things out there. I think they could get $5 a month for it. They might even get $10 a month for it. But I don't think you can get $15 a month consistently from enough people to support it. But if you're not going to release a new operation in the first half of this year, then you should go all in on this strategy of story. Because if you release a new operation, best case scenario, I don't know how I could make an argument that we're going to see one before August at this point with Chapter 16. Mm-hmm. I don't see an argument that would make me think that was not the best case scenario. So if that's our best case scenario, August, now you're talking about, sometime in the third or fourth quarter of the year. If you get to next October and there's not a new operation, then when they do release one, it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, and no one's going to run it because there's not going to be anybody left in a raiding guild to go run, especially hard mode, maybe story mode. Maybe you could make a new story mode op just to add it into the mix in Group Finder, because that's relatively popular with a broader base of people. But why even make hard mode at that point? Who's really going to be around in enough numbers to run hard mode ops if you go 2 years or close to 2 years between them? So
remember, we never have to wait more than 14 months as we did for the last time.
As someone pointed out to me, I think that technically the quote was there will never be a 14-month gap between operations, which doesn't actually have a directionality to it. They just said it wouldn't be 14 months. They didn't say it would be less necessarily, which I think is in the spirit of retconning statements that you thought you understood before. I think that's a good takeaway from that one, that they didn't technically say it was going to be less.
So, what I'm hearing is, should we be asking BioWare in a few weeks or a few months, who have you gotten to replace the guy who left, who headed up operation design?
Well, we should ask them right now, because in theory they're already working on the operations. So just one, let's look at it from a slightly more positive point of view. The reason that we aren't hearing about any of the MMO bits is because they are staying 100% on message in terms of the story for 2015. So this could be, as bizarre as it sounds, a deliberate strategy to ensure that there is a very consistent marketing message. And you'll note in these interviews, etc., Debbie Sue from marketing has been extremely involved. Mm-hmm. And so this could be their choice. And however you want to, for whatever reasoning is behind this, that's why they're doing it. They can't dilute the story by talking about other stuff, so they're just doing that. And that does not mean they are not working on stuff, and they will, in 2016, sometime reveal that it's all going to be great. Here's all the stuff that's coming. So, yeah, don't give up yet, but if you do not approve of what they're doing, by all means unsubscribe and let your money do the talking. But unfortunately, it seems you may be in the minority, so they may not care.
It doesn't mean you have to stop playing. I still log in all the time when I'm unsubbed. Is there a little bit of hoops to jump through? Yeah, but eventually I think that's something that we can talk about and find ways around some of that stuff. As far as that's one of my topics I'd love to discuss in the future is what they should do for free to play, because I think the microtransaction is a better way to go instead of the subscription model anyway. There shouldn't be anything locked when you're out of subscription that isn't unlockable. Every single thing that they lock, maybe without the XP and cost differences, but if there's anything that's locked, it should be unlockable with cartel coins and real money purchases. And there's still a lot of things that aren't. There's room for them to gain on that side of the business. I've always said in the beginning, I think they're doing what they think is right from a business perspective, and it's just not aligning with what I want, but I still think they're making right choices.
And I will say, too, that in case, for anyone who hears me talking about it here and doesn't get a chance to read the blog, that the thing that I say in the blog and that I've said repeatedly is that my frustrations are not because I dislike the game or that I'm not going to play it. I'm going to be here until there's either another Star Wars MMO for me to play or they turn the servers off. Like, I'm not going anywhere, but I'm also not going to not express my concerns or frustrations with their chosen business path, especially with the blog and trying to look at things from the business model perspective. There's a difference between enjoying the game and being interested in playing the game, like Bill said, with people who are subscribing or unsubscribing, that it's not as simple as if you don't like it, leave, or if you unsub that you're trying to harm the game or that you don't care about the game. It's more nuanced than that, and I think that the most important thing is that as a community, that the people who are engaged in the game, if we're going to have these conversations, then they need to be conversations and not story versus ops versus PvP arguments. That doesn't help any of us. What everybody wants is the best possible Star Wars MMO that we can have. And so I think that's just important to remember, because there's lots of frustration and there's lots of raw feelings and people that for right or wrong, there's a lot of people who are legitimately affected by what they feel like is the parts of the game that they enjoy not being fostered. So I think that it's healthy as a community to have those conversations, and to the extent that BioWare is willing to listen, to try to communicate what we want when we feel like they're misinterpreting what the community wants. But you've got to have the conversation. It's not going to do us any good to get in arguments on the forum and say, that start getting angry at each other. It's just not going to be productive. So I think
for sure. Anything else? All right. So, yeah, my final word on it is, yes, I am remaining subscribed because I do want to see this story play out, and I do enjoy SWTOR. It is the best SWTOR MMO out there. Yes, it's the only SWTOR MMO out there. And thus, I do want to...
Wars MMO?
The only Star Wars MMO out there, and I want to continue inhabiting that world, even more so with the movie coming out, even though we are getting a little... saturated as far as Star Wars goes, but still, it's the only MMO I really want to play. So yeah, of course I'll remain subscribed. Jill, any final words?
Right. Well, I'm I'm not sure if I'm quite in the camp that says there'll never be an operation again. I understand where Bill's coming from, though. If in fact that is the new plan over at BioWare, if that is their plan not to do any more operations, I do hope that sooner rather than later they do come out and say it, so that people can make an informed choice. I'd hate for it to be like the guy who, instead of breaking up with his girlfriend, just gives her the silent treatment until she breaks up with him. That's it's just not a good way to go. From kind of like an ethics standpoint. So at this point, I'm still willing to believe that there's going to be operations, but we'll see what happens. Until then, I'm going to enjoy the story, and I'm going to enjoy HK, but we'll be doing the old operations.
Indeed. And Bill, any final words?
Nope.
All right. Let's wrap it at 2 hours. Jesus Christ.
All right, that's a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Harbinger server, or in our...
Oh. Sorry, had to fail.
Utini Rage.
Guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. Thank you, Darren DePaul. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @OotiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is from Mevio's Music Alley. Check it out at music.mevio.com. That's MEVIO. Thank you to the chat room, which was incredibly busy today. And thank you to Andrew from Soto Economics and to Bill.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
having us,
guys.
guys.
And we'll see you next week.
Everyone keep recording. Yes, it was Valkyrian again. Thank you, Darren DePaul. Now, someone stuck in the show notes here. Tuga-kun Tio will we be able to have on the show? What was that about? Or was that a comment from someone?
Yeah, that's Tukagun. He's the one who sent in he sent me some IMs and then I forwarded them to you.
Oh, Sir Salisbury. Yes. He'll be
that's
on
right,
next
Sir
week.
Salisbury. Right.
Yep. With Alex, actually.
Good.
So those guys will be on next week. Everyone, thank you for watching. Probably not our most super positive show, but actually, no, it's just more a honest and accurate assessment of how we see things, and we still love the game, but as far as the in-game PvE, well, it's just not looking good. So yeah, anyway, thank you very much. We will be back next week with episode whatever the hell it is, 239. Have a good week, and if you see it before we record next, enjoy The Force Awakens. I know I will be. Alright, stopping the stream.